I can save it up so if you need to reference it. Running a lot of stuff, so we'll see how all that works. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I have it in, I've turned it on in my render view, and I'm going to create a light. So let's say one of my primary light sources is going to be the TV set. So I'm going to create an area light. And I'm going to press 7. Oops. And I'm just going to scale it so it's roughly, it's not as big as the TV, it doesn't have to be that big, but just big enough. And just not in the TV itself, but right in front of it. And I pressed 7 so I could see the lighting here. So I have this here, and you can see I have the shadows working if I turn lighting shadows on here. Okay. Now what you'll notice though is if I try to render it right now, you're not going to see anything. And that's because the way Arnold calculates lighting, I'm going to have to go in and make a lot of settings to adjust that. So I'm just going to hit escape a few times. And for the sake of speed, I'm going to lower the resolution a little bit temporarily while I'm working in the lights. So I'm going to go to the render settings. And drop it just temporarily down to 640 by 480 so that when I render, it should go really fast. There we go, see? Okay, so basically in 12 seconds it showed me a lot of nothing. So here's what we have to do. In the area light settings, I'm going to scroll down to the set that says Arnold, and I'm just going to do a few things. So one, I'm going to turn off normalize. Okay. And just turning that off is going to make a bit of a difference where you can see some of the lighting there. Still not giving me what I want, but now we can at least see the lighting. Right? I'll just keep that image, click. So that's just turning off normalize on the lighting. Next, I'm going to crank up its intensity. Let's boost that to like about a 20. Because even though it says there's a no decay rate, inside of Arnold it actually is calculating a quadratic decay rate, which is basically means that the lighting is fading as it goes away from the light source. So to make the light go further out, we actually have to increase its intensity, like brightening a flashlight or a dimmable light so it lights up the whole room because it's dying out before it hits the walls and the floors. So if I do a 20 and now render it, now we're starting to get that a lot better. Does that make sense? Cool. See, so now this is what it looked like before, after normalize was turned off. This is what it looks like afterwards. And now we're starting to get some nice lighting, or better lighting at least, inside of there. The speckles that you're seeing is because there's only one light source, and just like in real life, if you go into a dimly lit room at night, it has this noise because there's not enough photons hitting the environment for you to actually be able to see it. And the way our eyes work, um, it when there's limited light, things looks noisy. It's kind of, we just can't see things as well. If I increase this, I'll increase the intensity. I can change its color. We're going to do just a couple of other things, and then this will set you up. The one thing that you'll notice is that with the lighting, with Arnold, it takes a lot longer. And we haven't even really gone into like the high-end fine tuning. This looks super realistic. We've just got some nicer lighting. The more lights we have in here, the better it'll be. But you'll also notice, let me switch it back to 6 here. And I'm just going to bookmark this shot, clicking this right here. And then I'd be able to go and come right back to this exact angle. But what you'll notice is that this room also has windows and a skylight and windows over here. And if I select the room, and once again under Arnold, I just want to make sure that opaque is turned off. And that way, if I have something outside, it will acknowledge that I have a glass material on the windows, and light can shine through, which will also help. It's weird. In Arnold, you have to tell the model to not be opaque. So even if I have a transparent material on it, when it renders in Arnold, it won't acknowledge it. So now, got my glass material, got this stuff going on. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going, because if I render like this, watch this, I'm going to change my view a little bit. Make sure I'm still inside of the room. Keep this image, render. You can see how this is illuminating this area, but it's kind of fading out as it goes back, which is more realistic. I actually will probably dim this down a bit because it's illuminating the room a lot, and it's just a TV set. So unless there's an explosion or something, it's not going to be that bright. But you'll notice my glass and everything is kind of weird there. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the render settings, and under Arnold, environment. So render settings, Arnold environment, there's a setting for background, and I'm going to click this little checkerboard so that when I do that, I can create a sky shader, a physical sky shader. I'm going to say create a physical sky shader. It makes this. So what does that do? This was before. Check this out. Now we can see that there's a bit of sky, and we're getting just a little bit more, we can have the possibility of getting a background and maybe even a little light coming into it. Cool, huh? Now suppose, so there's different things I could do. If I wanted light coming from, a source here, Let me duplicate this area light. Go into my channel box, make sure it's nice and even. And I'm just gonna I used V to snap it to a vertice of the light, and now I can just take it and I'll pull it down just a little so it's right in front of it. There we go. And maybe I will, now I'll go in and just change a few of those settings for it. Give it a little bit of a warmer color. Press 7 so I could see it. I'm going to increase its intensity to about 50. Now in this view it's going to be like, wow, that's way too bright, but in Arnold it's actually it should look pretty cool, we hope. I think that's okay. All right. So let's take a look-see. There we go, you see that? So now we're getting this light source, it's illuminating. Much better, there we go. And I can go into these lights and increase the samples a bit. I just have to be careful when you increase the samples. Everything inside of Maya, when you crank up numbers, has the possibility of making things take longer to render. Okay, I don't see too much of a change there. Shadow density, resolution of the shadows, I can increase that if I want. Let's do one more thing. Okay. Actually, part of this will clear up when we render at a higher resolution. Intensifying the light a little bit also increases that. But what we can see is that, yeah, there's definitely some little things. Let's go to this guy, increase the samples. I think that's it. It doesn't need that many bounces, but 999 is a lot. And indirect lighting, I can actually boost. So if I do, let's try 1.2 instead of 1. I'm testing these on low resolution so that I can get a quick result and see if it's working or not. And then I can bounce back and forth, and then when I'm ready, every once in a while I'll switch it back to HD 540 or HD 720, and then I can actually see what it really looks like in greater detail. It's just those renders take much longer. And then I save my images. I'm not permanently saving them. If I want to do that, you just do a file save. But I'm keeping them so that I can kind of flip. See that? So we can see the indirect lighting. So in other words, if I go in, just let's crank this up. Let's say indirect lighting is at 2. And now we'll do a render. Yeah, and they aren't permanently saved. If Maya crashes or you close it, they disappear. But those renders are really good just to see when you make little tweaks to see what changed. And doing a comparison back and forth is just keeping it and then scrubbing back and forth. So see, that's what indirect lighting did. It boosted that up. Indirect lighting at 1, indirect lighting at 2. And that actually helps out a lot. Keep that. And let's see if there's a difference. So it's a little bit tedious, but every time you make a change, like you might want to just check that real quick and just kind of see what's changed. Is it taking longer to render with that change? If it did nothing at all, just switch it back to whatever it was previously. Save often and save different versions is really good because you never know when everything's just going to go boop and just crash on you. Um, but it's definitely one of those things where you just kind of go in and make these adjustments in there. And then you just start to add. The only other thing would be like, oh, if I wanted to add, just make this material brighter, right click, create Arnold surface shader. And I'm just going to do a standard surface shader. We can see it here. Isn't that cool? And it's even showing it because it's set to Arnold, so I could see what that looks like. And if I actually said, oh, you know what, this is supposed to be emissive, boost that up so it looks like there's light coming from it. And I can even give it a little bit of a color like that. And then I right click on that face and then assign that new material, which is the AI standard, this one. Assign, right click and hold assign material to selection. Yeah, crashes are a constant thing. So it's like, especially when you start dealing with the different lighting. So saving often different versions is going to be really helpful to you. But you see how it's actually glowing now? And we can crank that up as high as we would like. So I have it set there, but were I to go into that material and crank up the emissive scale, and you can go beyond, you can go like a 1.2. And then we can really see it popping out. And then I could assign that or a similar material to the faces of my light fixtures. I could even do one to the TV set, you know. And then I would just make it slightly emissive. And that way, because the light source is coming from the TV, it'll make more sense that there's light coming from there. But you can see now we can get some really nice shots of our render. Just remember, any lights you use, you have to kind of go into Arnold, into the Arnold settings of that material, and either turn off normalize or really crank it up high if you keep it on. And when I say high, I'm talking into the thousands or so. Thousands, 10,000s, if not higher. So if I went in and took that one, I turn on normalize, it's going to be much darker over here, you see. Which, depending on what the mood is and everything, could be, you know, kind of nice. It's now has this kind of a creepier atmosphere with, you know, this dude in the background for just kind of, you know, hanging out back there. Kind of weird. But you can then go in and then you'd say, oh, let me boost this thing up to like 5,000. When you do that, the hardware view is pretty much useless, so you can just change this back to like a, oops, like to a 6, because you won't be able to really notice it. But now you can see it's starting to pop out more, and that's at 5,000. Let me quit that. Let's try 50,000. Now we're starting to get the lighting there. See? And it's actually decaying a little bit more accurately. Oh, what does normalize do? Um, normalize basically does this thing, which is it. From what I've seen, it tries to calculate an accurate um, decay rate when we're inside. So when this is turned on and it's looking at this decay rate, it's actually trying to. It's a different algorithm that seems to be trying to balance it out over a distance, as opposed to when it's turned off, it's just very linear. It just kind of defaults to a linear sort of a decay, even though it's stated as quadratic. So it's one of those things where I just changed the exposure of it, and you see that kind of boosted it up. So we can see it's just brighter now. Let's drop down the exposure once it's all like it's basically normalizing, kicking it in. Yeah. So once these are dialed in, what the exposure is doing is sort of like a camera setting. Once there is light, how much exposure do you want within that area of light? It's actually not bad right there. Now, if it's taking 26 seconds at 640 by 480, when you go to a higher resolution, you know it's going to kick in a lot. It's going to take probably a couple of minutes to actually render out. So just be aware of that. Does that make sense? Yeah. It is. You could tell, like, it's like right now you can see um where there's more light, you're getting a nice smoother, you're getting a more accurate, how it's darker here, which it would be depending on what time of day and how the lighting is. So there is a bit of like, just that general tweaking. And then when you go into the render settings and you're making your adjustments, um, this is the why I tried doing like, okay, it's an option for you guys to use it, but I know sometimes your time on the computers are limited. So I don't make it a requirement at this point to render with Arnold. Um, Let me boost this up, camera. Keep. So, but it does add a lot of render time, and uh, it basically does this thing where, yeah, you just start to just click and wait to see what the results are and hope that you know, they're good. So it starts to take longer and longer. That's why I'm using the 640 by 480 to do my testing. So that way, when I know, okay, it looks good there, then I can crank it up, but I'm not waiting like 10 minutes every time I hit render to see what the results are. Oh, that looks better. Or it appears to be at that tiny little window. I'll boost it up and see. And I'll show you what I did. And I think if you didn't have any other questions, that'd be probably it. Yeah, I can already notice that's clearer. I'll show you what I did. Okay, do you see how much noise is here? And you see how much cleaner it is now? I boosted the camera sampling. Whenever you see samples, that basically you can equate that to resolution and how much it's scrutinizing it, but notice the render time boosted up. So here's where the issue is. And okay, we're going to try something scary. I'm going to boost it up to 10. Keep that image. This will be the last one. Now remember, I'm only rendering at 640 by 480. We can already see it's taking a while just to calculate that center. But I'm just doing it to kind of prove a point where you don't want to start with higher numbers and work your way down. You want to start with lower numbers and incrementally work your way up. Because otherwise, your renders are going to take a while depending on the quality that you're going for. So if you're working at home, that's awesome. If you're working at school, you could eat up a whole lot of time just waiting to get a nice, pretty, clean render. But I can already see, wow, it looks a lot cleaner. But yeah, at the cost of a whole lot more render time. And the machine I'm on right now is a 4.2 gigahertz quad core with 32 gigs of RAM. And the quad core, the 4.2, I've seen it boost up to about 4 point, almost 4.5. So it's not a slacker when it comes to computation, and it's giving it all, it's giving it all it's got right now. There are other ways of actually increasing that. I think I'm gonna try one thing, a different thing to increase this rather than the camera A. The volume indirect for indirect lighting would probably work out a little better. But yeah, you can definitely see it's a lot cleaner in there, giving us a nice gradation. And it's only at 38%. So at 640 by 480, you can see that it's definitely chugging a bit. But yeah, much smoother, even though there's not much light in there. See? Yeah, it does look good. I'm just going to hit escape a few times. And let's just kind of zoom in so you see the difference here before, like, look at that before and after. And that's in the render settings here. Its default, I think, was 2. Let's try that. But yeah, it is a big difference. But yeah, you can see like, wow, that's really render speed's totally different and quality is totally different, right? So you have to find that happy medium. Let me just try this. That's not too bad. But yeah, so just finding the difference between them will help out a lot. I'm just starting to go in. And you can apply these to the different, all the different lights that are kind of going. Just remember, an ambient light can also help, but only if you have it at a super, super low intensity. So here's my ambient light, and I'm going to drop this down. Like, I'll show you what it looks like by default. By default, if I try and do it, it's going to blow out or it might make things a little bit too hot. Oh, actually, escape. Oh, you know what? I forgot. In Arnold, it reacts differently. Delete you. So right now my scene, I'm only lighting it with two lights and then there's a background, but um, where are you? Create Arnold light. So I have Arnold lights that are in here. Like I can have a sky dome, and the sky dome I can put a texture in, and then that will emit light. There we go. So I just created a AI sky dome. And the cool thing is where the color is, right now it's just this, default. I could actually put an HDR image into it and illuminate the scene, or at least light coming from the windows and stuff with that image. So if I got a HDR, and you can look them up, HDR uh, image that I can drop into it, light will start coming out. So if the sun in the picture is over here, the sun's going to come through the window, that kind of stuff. Outdoor scenes or characters and objects that are supposed to look like, see the light coming in now? Or characters and objects that are supposed to be lit to fit a live action scene. This is what they use, the same sort of deal. Well, they use it through the materials, but the idea of lighting an object from a virtual environment from a picture is how they get stuff like Iron Man and the Hulk to look like they actually are in the shots with live action characters. Because when they film the live action and the areas there, they literally take photos of the environment and match them. So look at that. Look, before, add a sky dome, after. And then you can adjust different effects in here as well. Its intensity, put in an image in the color. Pretty cool, huh? Okay. Did you have any other questions? Sweet. Okay, I will. Oh, I'm glad it helped. I will save this video and then I'll post it up and make it available so you can look through it. It won't have closed caption yet, but it will at least be able, like, if you're like, oh, what was that? You can pull up the video again. Okay?